Hi, everyone. Pat Prindle here, Executive Director of Blaine Soccer Club. Just going to go over our annual general meeting. I know this is a little delayed, but we wanted to make sure we had accurate information and just were prepared, knowing what we've been going through with COVID. And I think you'll find through this presentation some valuable information, as one of our goals has been to be transparent and make sure we keep our membership in up to date with everything that's going on. So this is kind of be a annual general meeting, but also a recap of the year, as I've been here since May, and we continue to improve and listen to our membership and grow as a club, which is our #1 priority. So the first thing is to simply say thank you. Thank you to all of you as our families, our parents, our supporters, our players, our coaches, our staff, our board, our volunteers, the community in general. This year, as all of you know, has not been an easy year due to COVID, and a lot of the restrictions or non-restrictions that have been put in place have really had an impact not only on our club, but all of you as families. We know that some have, as I've stated before, have had positive impacts from COVID, as crazy as that's to say, maybe from a business standpoint, but others have been impacted so negatively as well. You'll find through this presentation that we as a club have had, I wouldn't say a positive impact, but we have really done a good job as a club and staff and families to get through this year. We know we're not out of it yet, but at the end of the day, the support that we've gotten from you, our families, and the players especially have been amazing, has been really promising. We know that not everyone agrees with everything that we've had to do, but know that everything that we've been doing has also been brought on from the States. And it's just, I understand that. We understand that everyone has different beliefs and different thoughts about COVID in general and some of the protocols, and that's okay. We know that we have lost some families due to some of the mandates and maybe some of the processes that we've done, but we also support those decisions and support those families, and hopefully they'll come back when there's somewhat of a normalcy to what's going on now. But at the end of the day, we again thank you. We couldn't be here without all of our membership. And I cannot say enough to your players that they have done a tremendous job over the past year dealing with everything that's been thrown at them, both from school, from sports, socially, and they've just been awesome, to be quite honest. And we appreciate that. We thank them for that, and you as parents for raising those players. So we again thank you all for that. Sorry, going through here. So my update from the executive director here will first be with the board. We have a new president, Chris Poitras, vice president, Ryan Brandt. Then we have Clint Bogdan, Sarah Comfer, new board members, Tanya Hartwell, Ryan Colbert. Scott Nielsen was the acting president and term was up and stepped down. And Chris was elected by the board into that spot. We also want to thank our past board members, Chris Selmer, Brian Lee, and Robin Thieren, for their time. There's no doubt that being a board member, it is a volunteer position, and these members spend a lot of time meetings, dealing with me, making sure the club's moving in the right direction, which you'll find that we definitely are. So thank you to this group. There's a lot of things coming up in the future that I think have been set up from past board members, and also moving forward with our current board members. So stay tuned to hear more from this group in the future as well. So as I stated, we'll have a recap of 2019-2020 in just regards to what we've gone through, where we're at, what we're looking forward to do in the future. But the first thing is just the staffing updates. As you know, last June we released our DOC at the time. We did not rehire the position. We also had 2 of our full-time staff step out from the club and start new ventures in different clubs. And we have not hired any new staff into these roles. And that has been one of the biggest things that we've been able to do, as you'll find in our expenses as we move into this year, is we've really been able to fine tune what we're doing as a group on the staffing end in regards to the structure and how we're moving forward and how we're being efficient. We don't have coaches on 4 teams. We do have some coaches that are still on 3 teams. We have coaches that are on 2 teams, and we have coaches that are on 1 team. And a lot of it depends on the age, the team, the level of the team, the capacity of the coach, and what we as a group feel those coaches can confidently handle. And the staff has done a great job. The kids have, again, been doing a great job, and there's been nothing but positive feedback. We continue to have coach education, meetings with staff, both full-time staff, part-time staff, to make sure that we as a club are meeting the needs of our membership and things that the membership has brought forward and over the past year that we need to do. You know, one of the things we want to make sure that the staff are making sure they do is not focus on the top, not focus on the bottom, but focus on all the players at all levels. It's the only way we can grow. It's the only way the kids can grow and attain the goals they have, whether that's to play in college, play high school, make the varsity, or simply just have a social atmosphere. We want to be a club that is there for every one of those players as we continue to grow and keep the players growing from that. From a programming standpoint, current enrollment, we budgeted for a 20% deficit simply because of COVID. We knew that we would lose players. The national average in youth sports was a deficit of 30%. I'm happy to say that we're right around that 17, 18% deficit instead of 20%. And I'll show you those numbers on a different slide. GPS, which was our global premier soccer that we were a part of. Some of you may have known that Blaine was a part of this program. GPS went bankrupt, but we had plans to stop that relationship due to expenses and just the atmosphere it was creating within the club. This program was positive, though, in regards to it brought a structure to the club, but it also brought some really quality coaches into the club and add to the coaches we already had. So there's definitely some positives from that. We are working and hoping to retain some of the fees and finances that we did have with GPS that they were supposed to pay back. But as you may know, with the bankruptcy process with GPS, that will take some time. We were in a partnerships with Lakes United where we are helping manage their club. We are no longer in that partnership just strictly because Lakes United and Blaine went their separate ways, and Lakes United is running on their own through the director of Jake Borash, who is also with our club, and we still support them as they need in regards to just simply players or feedback or anything like that. So it's definitely a cordial relationship, but they are on their own and we are operating on our own now as well. Financial update. So the recap of 2019-2020 year end. We did not have a great year, and that would be the same for every business. Year end, we came in negative over $300,000 behind budget. And that a big part, majority of that, to be fair, is the refund that we gave back due to COVID-19. I know I came right in at the tail end of this or the middle of it, and I know that people felt that they did not receive enough. Some felt that they didn't expect to get anything back, and some felt that it was perfect. I understand that everyone has a different perception of what that is. Everyone's financial needs are different, and that is completely understandable. I can share that there were clubs out there that did not refund any of the money. Some gave credits that could impact them in the future. Some clubs gave a couple $100. Some clubs gave, I don't want to say everything back, but somewhere around the lines of what we gave back. And all that just becomes part of what are your costs and what are your expenses. At the end of the day, our club refunded $450,000 last year. And when you think about that, that is a large amount of money. It was a very large impact on the club financially. And our number one goal for this year, for the 2020-2021 budget, was to come in, try to have a net zero or a positive, somewhat of a positive financial year, and make sure we didn't raise fees on families, make sure we don't have to raise fees on families in the future to make up these deficits. And happy to say, and you'll see this later on, that we are projecting to come in positive this year and really try to rebuild the fees that we lost, the money that we lost or gave back. We did lose money because of registrations and then obviously the refunds. And the year a soccer year's budget is based on registrations that come in. The goal is to, again, come in at around that net zero, being a nonprofit, but also be able to sustain our business and make sure that we can afford the things that we need to do and support our players through our coaches, our facilities, and just the future, to make sure that if anything like this happened again, we would be okay making that, having those refunds, because the money is there for that. So the COVID-19 impact, as we talked about the refunds, the club gave back roughly $450,000 last year in refunds. Our current registration numbers, again, remind you that we try to budget for a 20% deficit. Currently, we have 682 players in our competitive program. So this is our U9 through U18 competitive program. There is potential that this number will get close to 700 over the next couple of weeks, which is huge. That is such a huge achievement for our program and our club. There are clubs out there that lost 50% of their membership for whatever reasons. It's not our business to get into, but there are clubs that are struggling. There are clubs that are doing really well, and there's clubs that are just status quo. And I think part of that is we as a club and leadership team, I have told the staff that our number one goal is to be transparent, make sure that we're doing the best that we can, not worrying about other clubs and programs, but doing what we can to make sure that we keep our membership happy, keep the players happy, and continue to grow. Because we can only do the best that we can do, but we can definitely learn from our membership. And I think that's one of the things we continue to do. Our recreational program in the fall had 602 players. Winter, we had 288. That probably would have been closer to 500 if we did not have the pause in December. And then spring, as of this morning, we have 989 players in our spring summer recreational program. And I would suspect that that'll hit 1,000 over the next week, which is just tremendous. It speaks volumes to, you know, the trust that membership has in the program, that we have, the policies the club has, and just what we're doing, which is great for the future. If you don't have high rec numbers, you don't have a high competitive number for the future. Our development academy, which is our bridging program from rec into the competitive program. In the fall, we had 26. The winter, we had 50. The spring, we're roughly around 65. So that's actually a really good number for that program. And again, all in all, we are really happy with where these numbers are because of the impact COVID-19 has had, mainly with the mask mandates and just the differences in regards to where the numbers are and how are people feeling about what we as a club are doing. We know that there's other clubs out there that are not necessarily following the guidelines, and some people like that and some people don't. And that's okay, because different clubs are meant for different people, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we support that, and we want to make sure that we're doing what's right on our side. And I think our numbers show that. And I appreciate what you as membership are, you know, sticking with us and supporting us through for that. So here's just a quick slide. You can see that our total expenses for 2019-2020 were $1.6 million. And this is also has some of that refund in there as well. Our year-end net income was negative $307,000. And that was, again, mainly because of COVID, and then the refunds that we had to put out there. You can see in the pie chart here that our main costs are facilities, staffing, administration, and then the COVID-19 refund, which does not show on the pie chart here. The GPS program alone was a very expensive program to have. We did get some reimbursements throughout that process. The staffing is 45% of the budget that year when it comes to expenses. On staff, we went from 13 full-time staff to 9 currently. So you'll see a big difference in this in the future. Then we have about 20 to 30 part-time staff, depending on the number of teams we have in that. So that's all in there. The facilities, this number will go up in the future. And I think this is where people don't realize what our expenses are in the winter. The NSC has one of the largest domes in the country, if you will. It also comes with a very large fee. So right now, that fee for an alley rate in the dome, and I think this is just public knowledge, is roughly $800 an hour. The sports hall is roughly $425 an hour to be in there. So we're happy to support the NSC. It's a very large expense that we have. Happy to know that we have worked with the NSC and they've partnered with us in making sure that we can offer the programming we need at a reasonable cost that we have, and making sure we can balance that with the outdoor fields, indoor space, and just make sure that we don't have to raise fees to cover these. But I think it's important for you as membership to understand and know that it is expensive to run a year-round soccer program with costs like that. And the NSC has costs that they have as well. And I know they're working to, with the state on how do they potentially lower some of their hourly rates to continue to be competitive in the market. The other fees that we have in there, obviously, are administration. So referees, supplies, office and our insurance, leagues and tournaments, merchant fees, and then again, the GPS and fitness program for that. And this will all look different next year. I think you'll see a reduction in a lot of these expenses. And it's one of the things that we continue to focus on as we build the 2021-22 budget. I can't guarantee anything, but we're working to see where we can maybe reduce some of the fees at the younger ages to make sure we can continue to build that program, but also not raising fees at the older ages or the higher levels, but just making sure that we're in a good financial spot and make sure that we can continue to grow with our membership and not price anyone out, because we don't need to make this continue to raise those fees for that. So the future, goal for the future is transparent communication, making sure that we're not hiding anything from our membership, making sure that we're continuing to show you where money is being spent, where revenue is coming from, what are we doing as a club, where are we finding potential for growth, but also where are we struggling. Program development is one of our main things we want to focus on in regards to what are we offering each player. Again, we have players that want to play in college. We have players that could play Division I. We have players that'll play D3. We have players that don't want to play in college. We have players that don't want to play in high school, but they want to have a social environment. Our number one goal as a club is to make sure that we can provide a program and a structure for every one of those players. If not, what are we doing? And that's one of the things that we continue to work on and make sure that both financially and time-wise fits the needs of those families and those players. Our staff development, we continue to work on staff education, our staff recruitment. How are we diverse as a staff, both racially and gender-wise? We have a very diverse club, very diverse community, and we want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a spot to work with everyone that's in the club. Financial stability, we want to make sure that we are continuing to be smart with the money that we have, so that we are around in 10 years, 15 years. How do we grow? How can we continue to be partners with the NSC? And it's being smart with our money. This year, as you'll see next year as we go into the year end, you'll see that we trimmed a lot of areas to make sure that we were financially smart and we are having success for the future. And that's just one of our goals and one of the things that I've been focused on. And that comes into our partnerships. How do we provide diverse programming, and not just camps or tournaments we go to, but how can we partner with other clubs in regards to where we're going? What tournaments do you want to be in? What tournaments do our players want to be in? And how do we set that up? Diverse lines of revenue. How do we work with the local cities to provide additional satellite rec programs? How can we help these city programs that are they're a lot cheaper because of, they just need to be for their cities and their communities. How do we work with them to build their program, but also provide something for those families, and then potentially have them come into our competitive program in the future? There's a need for everyone out there, and we found that. So how do we continue to work on that and have those conversations with the local leaders for that? All in all, the club is in a great spot moving forward. We're projected to do very well this year, both financially and through our numbers, which I think was one of the main concerns from membership, from the board, and we continue to grow through that. And one of the things that we'll continue to do is be open, be transparent, There'll be communication coming out soon about refunds from December for the competitive program. You know, we talked about that we're going to do that, and we are. We're in a spot where we can make a refund for time that was missed at those times due to COVID-19. Not every club's able to do that. Not every club plans to do that, but we are in that, and we want to make sure we take care of our membership through that. I then again thank every one of you. I want to thank you, your players, your families, the coaches, the staff, the board, the community. You know, without all of you, we can't do what we're doing, and we wouldn't be able to be where we're at now. So again, thank you. And if anyone has any questions, you know that you can always reach me at executive@blainsoccer.org. Thank you again.